Hey guys, hey, it's Matthew, and wanted to record this video because this is a relatively new project, and I think taking some steps to just kind of walk students through this is a pretty good idea to give you a sense of how to complete things. And so let's kind of back up for a second and let's take a look at the current project PDF or the current state of the project PDF. Okay, so Japanese kanji, poster design, and t-shirt mock-up. Okay. So essentially I want you guys, I was online and saw this beautiful poster that really kind of inspired this project. So there's the kanji symbol that symbolizes and means now in Japanese. And then there's the English translation of the kanji down here that says NOW now. And then there's this real beautiful kind of opportunity for personal expression about the meaning of now, not necessarily from Wikipedia or a dictionary, but maybe your personal interpretation of now, like maybe the urgency of doing things now, or seizing the moment, regarding life, however you want to interpret things, but this is to me a personal response or interpretation of now and the kanji translation. And then down here is some logistical information about the type of project, who it's designed by, maybe a link to your Instagram page and so forth. So, but this poster layout I think is really strong. And that's what we're going to be doing for this kanji project in typography. Okay. So it's really a project exercising typography and creative expression or expressive symbols or words. And it's also a layout project. In addition from laying out the kanji on the poster, there's an element of doing some layout with InDesign on a t-shirt. So I want my students kind of thinking about the multiple possibilities of their designs and how they can be applied to many different mediums or contexts. So, posters, t-shirts, and thinking beyond that, cups, mugs, coffee thermoses, postcards. I don't know, you guys can, let me know if you have some additional ideas. The idea that I had, and let's go back up for a second. I wanted to do a translation of the kanji definition of discipline. Okay. And so let's see if I'm giving you guys also some templates or graphics to kind of get you going with things. And so, on Canvas or up online, you can find links to these things. But currently I have a template for the graphic, I have a template for the poster, and I also have a template for the shirt for you that I've developed. And I think these things or this exercise and this project is particularly valuable because we're going to be using Photoshop a little bit. We're going to be using Illustrator a little bit. We're going to be using InDesign a little bit. And the value of this project is that you get to see and understand how all of those applications can be used uniquely to complete a project, a graphic design project. But oftentimes you have to make a decision, and the decision that I made for completing this project was that I was going to translate the kanji symbol that means design, or excuse me, discipline, because I think that design requires a lot of discipline. So within the template folder for the graphic, if I click on this and if I go into the assets folder, essentially what I did was I downloaded some images, or I screenshotted rather, some images for kanji discipline. And so there's one right there. And I basically just kind of did a quick search online, which is relatively simple. I think I looked for English to Japanese translation. Okay, here's the original screenshot. And so the website that I used is I know you guys have trouble, might have some trouble seeing this, but I used the website jitenon.com/kanji. And this is the website that it took me to. And I believe that I typed in uh, the word discipline or training, and this is the symbol that popped up. Okay. So, and that's the one that I decided to use. So you can do, research on your own, and find the right kanji to fit on the poster for your need. So at this point, what I did was I opened up Photoshop, or excuse me, I opened up the screenshot with Photoshop, hit C for crop, and I made sure to come up here and click clear so there aren't any aspect ratio parameters associated with the crop. And I just kind of brought these guys in and I tried to crop this kanji symbol relatively close, hit enter, and then save it maybe as a PNG or a JPEG. I don't want to destroy my original screenshot that I put in my assets folder. So instead of saving, I'm going to click don't save because if I go to my project folder here at the top, I actually already performed that function. So this is ready to bring into the software. Okay. So now let's take a step back and let's go back to the project folder. Let's take a look and see what's going on. So for the template, for the graphic, there's an AI file here. Um, I believe that, let's open this up with Illustrator and take a look. So you can see the work that I've already done here actually, and I'll show you how to do this here in a moment. But when you guys get this file, you're going to see that there are three different layers to place different graphics if you'd like, because you're going to be experimenting and you'll understand after you complete this and print it out and do some analog work. But if we go back to the project PDF, the requirements are you need to create three 12 by 18-inch poster designs, each expressing a meaningful word or phrase in kanji, the Japanese writing system. The first design should feel traditional, hand lettering. The second should feel modern, vector graphics. And the third should feel physical, with objects that are arranged on either scanned, ripped paper, or photographed, orange peels or banana peels. So I'm kind of inserting some examples there. So basically, you need one that's traditional, another that's modern, and a third that's more textured. Okay. So that's why there are these three layers here, because eventually you're going to be plugging some of this information into this file, possibly. Okay. So, but I came down here and I clicked the plus sign so I could create this fourth or additional layer um, that indicates us doing the tracing process or bringing that screenshotted symbol into the software. So, but I'm going to just delete this. Okay. And it's actually existing down here. I'm going to delete all of that information so that we can just kind of start from square one. I also wanted to point out that the dimensions of this artboard are the width is 11 by 13.5. Okay. And there's actually a reason for that because if we go back, I know I'm kind of jumping around with the software quite a bit, but if we go into the template for the poster and open that up really quickly, you'll see that there are three opportunities again to sort of place a graphic. Okay. But the big thing that I really want to point out to you at this stage in the game is that if you select one of those, like so right now, the content on this layer is selected, you can see that the width is 11 and the height is 13.5 of this window to place something within this InDesign document. Okay, and just so that you can get the full context, I'm going to make some of these layers show up. So there's the precedent on this layer, and it's connected up. It's indicated here by this little blue signal here that's showing that that InDesign is able to find the asset. And then I've reduced the opacity and kind of pushed it towards the background. I also gave you guys a grid for layout, which is kind of handy sometimes. I think really what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to emphasize that the grid can be useful regarding publication layout and giving order to a document. Okay. Then there are these three kind of places where you can input or place the traditional graphic, the modern graphic, and the physical graphic. And here at the top, there are two different types of typography. There's Helvetica, okay? And then there's also this real fun kind of typeface that I discovered called Hiragino Sans. And I liked that one because it was created by a Japanese designer. Just to kind of go back into these and just kind of unravel things a little bit, I'm going to zoom in for you. Helvetica H1 indicating it's a header one, and then 25K means 25 kerning. Okay. And so if you want to change kerning in InDesign, you have to take your black arrow tool, double click into the text, and then this will pop up and you can see there's 25 kerning right there. Okay. This is the H2 or 50K. So it's a header two, and there's 50K kerning down here. We can go into kerning in a different video, but essentially, kerning really just assists with legibility with smaller text, and that's why the kerning is a little bit higher down here compared with the H1. And over here, there's an H3, which also has 50 kerning associated with it. So I've kind of set up, I mean, I've set up these documents so that you guys can, A, of course, like I had mentioned before, see the collaborative nature of these programs, but it also just kind of makes your life a little bit easier. And, you learn by doing in my studio courses. And so when you guys handle all the creativity, and I'm kind of like handling a lot of the technical stuff, setting up these documents for you, and you can sort of learn by me so that at some point you can take the reins a little bit more confidently. Also notice how I have the typography at the top over here, and then I have this content, and then like these sort of like other items I'm placing towards the bottom, and then I'm locking those layers too. So, maybe you can bring those back, for guidance. So I hope that helps with the context and really makes you understand why this document is 11 by 13.5, because once you export those PNGs, they're just going to plug into this document seamlessly because the dimensions are analogous or they're the same. And I did that purposefully, just kind of thinking ahead a little bit. So, but in order for you guys to do some editing, you need the kanji symbol screenshotted, traced or vectorized, and then blown up, and then exported into a PDF, printed so that you can do some experimentation and some playful work with like, some analog markers or like some collage work. And we'll get to that here in a bit. Again, now, like you guys have some context, I have chosen the word discipline, and the way that it translates into kanji is with this, whoops, find my way into this document again. So there's the template for the graphic. Here's the assets folder. And here at the top, there is what we need, discipline -2. So once you have Illustrator open, create a new layer. I've called mine discipline, although it looks a little bit misspelled there. Go up to File, and then Place. The dialog box will pop up. Go ahead and select the discipline graphic that you cropped with Photoshop earlier. Click Place. Now you have this sort of thumb image of the graphic, and Illustrator is asking, okay, where do you want it? So you can just click anywhere. Good. All right. So here's the graphic, and with the black arrow tool, we can kind of move it around. You don't want to grab just one handle without holding shift because it will distort your graphic. So that's really a dangerous thing to do. I would advise against that unless you want that effect with your graphic. If you accidentally do that, you can hit Command Z to undo, okay? I want this graphic essentially to be as large as possible on this page. So I'm going to just, while I'm holding Shift with my left hand or the pinky on my left hand, I'm dragging this out as far as possible, kind of just make it into a big graphic, because remember, at some point you're going to want to use a micron pen, use a graphite pencil, um, cannibalize an old magazine, take it apart and put it back together again, and maybe glue it within this area. And so I want these boundary lines, but I also want this symbol to be as large as possible so I have some area to work with. So now I've got it sitting on the page, which is pretty nice. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag with the black arrow tool. And notice how the dialog box changes up here at the top once I drag with the black arrow tool. Once you do that, you see this option for image trace. Don't just click the button, go to the chevron to the side, click it. It'll bring up this drop down. And we just want this to be black and white, really nice and simple. So choose the option for black and white logo, click it. And before I do that, I just want to zoom in and just remind you guys the difference between a raster graphic and a vector graphic. So this is rasterized, meaning it's pixelated, okay? So that's not a very, that's a really, honestly, let's be honest. Yeah, like let's just say it. It's a bad graphic. I mean, it's poor quality. It's okay because we can drag and select, image trace it with the black and white logo function. Now it's been vectorized. And now if we zoom in, look how beautiful that vector graphic has become. So we've cleaned it up real nice. I still want to have access to the paths or the vector graphic inside. So I need to select it. And the next move I need to make is I need to hit expand, then come up here to object and ungroup all. Okay. Now that it's ungrouped, I have this, I mean, basically the white background and the black foreground are now separated. Okay. So I can actually select this white background, and if I wanted to, I could make it into a silly color. Notice how these areas did not change color because they're separate objects. So in other words, this white background, or now it's red, was not able to touch these guys. And so alternatively, the symbol has this moment that's connecting them right here. And so that means that the symbol is actually one big object, which really works well for this project. It's not absolutely necessary, but it just kind of makes this tracing process really easy. I like to hold on to these sort of extra trimmings, like, like the analogy is like maybe you're making cooking and, sometimes you throw away the odds and ends, like, if you're chopping vegetables or whatever. I like to hold on to that stuff. And if we cruise over here and look at the layers palette, that's why I have this sort of additional layer down here hiding at the bottom that I grabbed that material earlier and I erased it because I can select these, and I'm going to hold shift with my pinky. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice how it's highlighted here with that blue icon, the line that's outlining the information or the vector information on the artboard. It has a blue outline. Drag that little blue icon all the way to this other layer and watch how the color changes. It's no longer, the outline color is no longer going to be blue. Now it's pink or magenta. Lock that and then make the layer go away. And now all you have left is the vector graphic of the symbol, the kanji symbol itself. And that's really what we want right now. Okay, well, we want the boundary of the symbol. And remember, in Illustrator, all objects, for the most part, I think this is an absolute rule, but all objects always have the opportunity to have either a fill or a stroke. Right now, this is all fill. And so you can kind of see that by selecting the object, and up here in the top left-hand corner, the fill is indicating that it's black. I could actually, if I wanted to, I can change that to any color, okay? So let's go back and make it black again, okay? But actually, I'm going to reduce the harshness of that line, and I'm going to say, let's make it grayscale, like a light gray, okay? Now I'm going to select it again and come down here, and there's this little arrow between the fill and the stroke here on the left-hand side. click the arrow, and it'll invert the object so that the fill moves to the stroke. Okay, so now if we click away, we can see that the kanji symbol has this gorgeous kind of line or contour line, outline, or a boundary for the purpose of this project. But now I want to make that line a little bit thinner. I think that that's just too bold of a line. So now I'm going to drag and select, and I'm going to make that line a little thinner, or that stroke a little bit thinner. And instead of 1 point, I'm going to make it 0.5 points. So now look at that, just a little bit thinner, and I think that'll be good for this project. All right. Okay, so for the time being, let's go ahead and save this. And now if we go back, if I'm not mistaken, there's an InDesign file here as well. Okay, let's open that up. You guys can see that I've kind of been doing this project a little bit because there's some evidence from the previous round. It's okay. Now we want to place the Illustrator graphic into this document, okay? So first of all, I just want to point out, let's go back. Go to File, and then Document Setup. We will see that actually this document is 8.5 by 11. And the reason being is because the standard paper size is 8.5 by 11. Remember, all we want to do is print this so that we have something physical to work on, okay? And that's why it's 8.5 by 11. It is not, going back here again, I know I'm kind of harassing you guys with dimensions, but I'm just trying to, bring this home properly. This document is actually 11 by 13.5. All right. But what I want to point out here in this document is that, again, the paper size itself is 8.5 by 11, but then there's this boundary. Okay. There's this boundary happening with this object. And so the aspect ratio of that boundary is actually similar to 11 by 13.5. It's just been kind of squinched down or minimized so it will fit on an 8.5 by 11 sheet. Okay. So right now, also InDesign is showing that the link needs to be updated. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select the window that I already had placed for you. If you guys can do the same. You just drag and select the window, then hit Command D for place. Okay. And then navigate. This is kind of getting into the weeds a little bit because sometimes all of my assets are kind of buried deep in my file system here. But I need to go to my typography course, project 2 for Kanji. Here's the template for the graphic. And here is the Illustrator file that currently has the kanji saved, and it's giving us a preview. That's nice. So you can hit open and see now things are working just fine. Okay. So again, you can do it with the shortcut Command D, which is really nice, a great habit to get into. You can also come up here to File, Place, and you can see now InDesign is remembering where the file or asset was living, so it's taking me directly there. So it's kind of fun, like InDesign is relatively smart. So here's the AI file again, and I can open it, and we just did the same thing, just two different ways. I want to highlight that the reason why that graphic plugged into this existing boundary or window is because I selected it with the black arrow tool. If I click away and I have nothing selected, and then I hit Command D, and then I select the same graphic, it's actually going to do the same thing that Illustrator was doing or asking. It's going to say, where do you want it? And so you can just kind of click here. So now we have that same Illustrator graphic actually appearing twice in this document. All right. So this sort of illustrates or shows you the power of InDesign, where you can just start compositing and placing things really, really powerfully and efficiently and easily. So I don't need that second one. So I'm going to drag and select and then hit delete on my keyboard. And now it's gone. Now I'm going to hit Command 0 on my keyboard and I can see it all together. Okay. All right. Cool. But now I need to export it into a PDF so that I can send it to the printer on campus. File, export. I'm going to go to, I'm in the template graphic folder. I'm going to call this one, I'm going to add the word print in all caps. And I also want, there's a drop down here and make sure you have Adobe PDF print selected. Click save, export. Now let's go back to our folder and see if we can find it. There it is. Just came out today, 1:30 p.m. So yes, that's our file. Click on it. Very nice. So that's basically, we prepared this file so that we can have a boundary associated with our kanji graphic that means the word that we've chosen. In my circumstance, it's discipline. And again, I like this word because, design requires discipline. It requires a heck of a lot of time, guys, and a lot of patience. Some of these projects get really complicated, but once you realize how all the dots are connecting, it's actually quite simple. So this might seem really complicated right now, but trust me, it's really not that tough. All right. So, but print this out. I would say print 10 of them for yourself so that you can experiment with materials, like have different types of pens. You can work with contour lines. You can just be playful. Okay.